Thank you so much for joining us online today. We so appreciate you checking out this message. We hope you enjoy it and are inspired to live more and more like Jesus Christ by His grace. If you would like to support the ministries of Rancho, you can do so at rancho.tv/giving. Set up a giving profile and a reoccurring gift. We'd sure appreciate that. Enjoy. So we are in the middle of a life plan series. And so many of you have your notebooks and pens. I know going old school, we have those available in the back every week. Some of you are putting a digital file together because what we're doing to start out 2025 is making a life plan, tweaking kind of where we're going, what we're doing to get to a better spot going forward. Because whether you're a planner or not, the more good things we plan towards good outcomes, I think the better our life is going to be. Just a little bit of intentionality that says, hey, listen, I've got this life to live. And I've got choices to make, and I've got things to do, and I want to do them well. I want to make sure that every area of my life is going as well as it can possibly go, and so I'm going to make a plan with each area of my life. Now, some of you are planners. Some of you, this is just natural. You plan every part of your life, your family, your work, your travel, everything, social life, you got it all dialed in. That's not me. I am not a planner. I'm kind of a big picture vision guy, so I can tell you more about 20 years from now than I can tell you about this afternoon, right? I live kind of in the future, so I'm okay at kind of strategic planning and getting, the right people together to achieve some long-term goals, but I am a terrible planner in the moment. I cannot plan my way through lunch today, right? I can't do it. Now, my wife, on the other hand, is a great planner on the small details. She has the menus scheduled for the week. She has our finances scheduled, for the week and for the month and month after month. So she's a good short-term planner. I'm a pretty good long-term planner. And so we're a decent team. But we have this vast middle that neither of us have a clue about, right? So for example, when it comes to finances, she knows what we're doing day to day, week to week, month to month. I've got kind of the long-term 20-year vision kind of squared away, but all the stuff in between is just a black hole for us. And so we're using this life plan series to shore up some things in our own life. And so I hope that there's some nuggets that you're getting out of every week that could help you out. What we're doing is we're starting big picture and getting more detailed as we go. So at the beginning of the year, we started imagining, well, what's our destination, the big picture destination, what we're calling the imaginary waterfall, the place of rest and, peace for us, right? When we're elderly looking back, it's a wonderful spot that we've got our life to. In part, I hope because we've made a decent life plan and have made some good decisions along the way. Week 2, we defined our values in terms of why we make the choices we make along the way. Week 3, we're gathering our communities because we don't walk this alone. So who are the people we're walking this life with? And then last week, we made a little bit of a switch to 3 places, our 3 places. Every healthy person needs 3 healthy places. Your first place is home. We talked about that last week. Your second place is work. We'll talk about that this week. And your third place is where you go to socialize. We'll talk about that next week. So our first place is home. Our first place is home. Today we're going to talk about our second place of work. Our second place of work. Now, 20% of us hate our jobs. 20% of us absolutely hate our jobs. I'm sorry. I think today might be a good opportunity for you to make some changes to either choose to love the work you hate or maybe make some changes to work in a better spot. We'll talk about that a little bit. 30% of us, work is work. You don't hate it, you don't love it, you put in your time, you get your paycheck, and that's okay, it's not a bad spot to be. But 50% of us love our work. We love our work. Now this number is way up from where it used to be. It used to be much less. But after COVID and $6 trillion dumped into the US economy, employees began to have the power. And they began to be in demand. And so they started aligning their work more with their passions. And so there are more people that love their jobs in the United States of America than at any time in history since it's been studied. So whether you love your job, hate your job, or anywhere in between, today what I want to do is expand our thinking in terms of work. So here's where I want to start. Think of work as a gift from God. Think of work as a gift from God. Now, for those of you who are in the 20% and hate your job, you're like, no, it's not a gift from God. But I want us to realign our thinking about work. It's a gift from God. Now, a lot of us, myself included, were raised in more of the evangelical church world, and I won't get into a lot of details on what that is or isn't, but in the evangelical church world, there's this kind of narrative that
happens fairly regularly that goes something like this. God created the world perfect, right? You have the story of Adam and Eve in the first 3 pages of the Bible. God created the world perfect. Then Adam and Eve blew it. They sinned, and then God cursed us with work. That's kind of how the narrative goes. And so for us, you know, who were raised in that environment, and I certainly was, you kind of think about work as a curse. Work is a result of sin. Work is the result of the fall of humankind. The problem is that's just not true. God designed us for work. If you use the parable of Adam and Eve, he gave us the gift of work before there was sin, before there was failure. Work is an integral and foundational part of who we are and how we were designed. Genesis 2:15. The Lord God placed the man in the Garden of Eden to tend and watch over it. This is before they blew it in this parable of the Garden of Eden. Their mission from the very beginning is, hey, I've created this wonderful world for you. Not to just sit around and laze around and be served. No, you gotta work this land. You gotta work the land, you gotta trim the trees, you gotta pick the fruit, you gotta work, right? That's the foundational identity of who we are, is to work in this world. But then again, in kind of the evangelical world, it's not just the mistaken understanding that work somehow is the result of sin, but when we think of heaven, we are very much focused on rest. I'm not working in heaven, right? Heaven is a place I go to rest. I spent kind of decades in the church, and not once did it ever occur to me, or once was it ever spoken that, yeah, well, there could be work even in the afterlife. No, it's a place of rest. Here's just a super cheesy illustration of heaven, right? We won't even walk because we've got wings. It's like, you can't even bother walking, right? It's just kind of this vision of heaven where there is no work. We're just sitting and other people are serving us. That's kind of heaven. I don't know. It doesn't look very attractive to me. But then there's other religious backgrounds that understand that, well, we're wired for work, we're made for work, so why not work in heaven? This is a very lame illustration, right? But I don't know what the leopard anyway. But there's people working and harvesting and serving. It's like we're actively involved in work. And this is kind of, the title of this is Enjoy Life, on earth forever. That's kind of a vision of heaven. And so there are religious traditions that resist work. Work's a result of sin. Work is a curse. When we go to heaven, there will be no work. So we resist work, some of us. There are other religious traditions that embrace work. It's part of our core identity. God works, God creates, and so our work and our creativity is just flowing with the creative work of God. So I would encourage us to think more along those lines. Ecclesiastes 5:18 says this, "For it is good for people to enjoy their work under the sun during the short life that God has given them. And it's a good thing to receive wealth from God and the good health to enjoy it." This is just a good, light feel. Hey, we get to work with our heads and we get to work with our hands. And so we're sort of in that rhythm of working and creating the way God works and the way God creates to create and sustain the cosmos, right? So we're in line with the work of God and the creativity of God. Oh, and by the way, as a result, you're gonna get paid and you're gonna get some money and you get to enjoy that money and hopefully you have good health and you've got these resources and enjoy life. I mean, isn't that kind of a cool, light and freeing way to think about work? It's a gift from God. And then I love this last part. So they take no time to brood over the past. I think that's a little bit of a dig on people who don't work. When we're not working, we can brood because we're not active and we're not creating and we're not making, this world a better place. We're not investing in this world with our work, and so we don't work and we kind of brood. Now, I'm not accusing anybody in this room of brooding. But do you know someone, clearly not in this room and clearly not online, do you know somebody who's not working? Maybe they're retired and maybe they have a lot of leisure time and all they do is brood over the past. Oh, when I worked, it was like this. Oh, the past was better and today is terrible and things are getting worse and things are not as bad, never been as bad as they are now. Brooding because you're not working. Now, I'm not necessarily just talking about the work that we get paid for. Work doesn't have to be paid for, but actively engage with our heads and with our hands in doing something to follow the creative work of God on the earth. When we're doing something, we are not brooding. Let me put it to you this way in terms of my own timeline. I plan to retire by 2040, so I'm all in for retirement, but I do not plan to be out of work. You know what I mean by that? Retirement happens. After 2040, I don't plan on getting paid. There's some board members here who might say, well, it might be before 2040, Treadway, but I plan on retiring by 2040. I won't get a paycheck after 2040, but I still plan on working. Wherever people will have me, wherever people would value the things in my head or the things of my hands, I plan on working. I don't plan on doing nothing and brooding. Now, I love to golf, right? Love to golf. My idea of retirement is not golfing every day. I have golfed for several days in a row, and the third day I am done with it. I don't want to do it anymore. It's like, listen, I love it, I'm passionate about it, but really by the third day, all I'm doing is dazzling the people around me, but I don't really enjoy it. I don't enjoy it. There's always so much leisure you can do. It's like we've got our heads, we've got our hands, we can keep working even in retirement, right? So stay in the game as much as we can. There are some limitations for sure as we go, and life circumstances, I get that. But as much as we can, keep working. Think beyond work to envision our life's work. Think beyond work to envision our life's work. There's a difference. Work are the things that we do for a paycheck or the responsibilities that we have that may not be paid, but they're the responsibilities that keep the world moving forward. Then there's our life's work. And I want to talk for a few minutes about our life's work, which is distinct from our work. Our life's work is our life mission. Work is our job, but our life's work is our mission. So what is your mission? Your mission is your life's work. And that could take the form of a mission statement. You guys have a mission statement at work? Every workplace has a mission statement. Have you ever thought about a mission statement for your own life? That defines your life's work, not your job, but your life's work, why you do what you do, the things that you're compelled to do with your head and with your hands. We all know what a mission statement is, right? A mission statement is a long, awkward sentence that demonstrates management's inability to think clearly. Thank you for laughing. The rest of you, shame on you, shame on you. That is very funny. Every workplace has a mission statement, right? And a company may or may not take it seriously. A lot of companies look at their mission statement and they're like, okay, yeah, whatever. Good words, but it doesn't really drive our organization. What is your mission statement that drives you? Now, I clearly work for Rancho Church and Rancho Christian School and Mission Hope, and so we have mission statements that actually do drive who we are. Here's the mission statement of Rancho Church. It's our life's work. We're a diverse community of friends advancing the cause of Christ through mercy, justice, and love. That is our life's work on a mission statement that matters. And then for the school, Rancho Christian School, this is our life's work, equipping Christ-centered leaders who are ready for university and ready for life in a community of Christ-like care. Drives who we are. It's our life's work. Mission Hope that we founded in 2009, this is our life's work, partnering with our community to provide access to healthy food, housing programs, and resources that equip and empower those we serve to live life to the fullest. Those mission statements, our life's work that drive who we are organizationally. Those mission statements, as much as I love them, I help to craft them, they're not my mission statement. Scott Treadway's mission statement is different. So to walk a journey that says, okay, well, this is my work, and my work has a mission statement, and I may value it, I may treasure it. It might be aligned with my mission statement, but mine is different. So here's Scott Treadway's mission statement. Not that you asked. To help people around me know, feel, and experience the freedom of being loved just as they are, then freely love the people around them. That's my mission statement. It just so happens that dovetails nicely with my work. That's great. And I'm privileged to be able to have my mission statement at work in my workplace. For some of you, there's a link. For some of you, there's not. But regardless, what is your life's mission statement? Because that mission statement of mine can and should be fully at work in my home. Now, most of my family is here this morning at church. So you can ask them, do I do this mission statement at home? And I hope they say, yeah, most days, right? But I want my wife to feel this, and I want my kids to feel this at home. This is my life's work at home. my life's work with a broader, group of friends and a broader concentric circle of extended family. And then that life's mission statement can be at play where I work. This is a life's work. This is a mission statement. And I want to encourage you, even now, if you've got your notebook, if you've got your digital notes, start noodling around a personal mission statement. I'm telling you, it is very, very valuable. Because you can do your life's work in any job. Absolutely any job. So what is your life's work? Your life's work is your mission. Your life's work is your calling. Your life's work is your voice. And that's where the word vocation comes from. Vocation is from the Latin vocatio, which means to call. Vocation is your life's calling. It's not your job, it's your life's calling, whether or not that dovetails perfectly with your job. It is your voice. And your voice, your vocation, your life's work, your mission can be expressed at home with your friends, volunteering, shaping a community, at school, in work. That's your mission. That's your voice. That's your calling. So we have our life's work, and then we have our work. We've talked about our life's work, our mission, and our calling. Now let's talk about our work. Here's the definition of work I particularly love, because I wrote it. The critically important stuff we do to contribute to a healthy family, a healthy community, and a healthy society. The critically important stuff we do with our heads and with our hands that make the world a little bit of a better place. These are our responsibilities. And some of these responsibilities you're paid for. You get a paycheck. I have certain responsibilities that build a healthy family, community, and society. In my job, I get that paycheck. That's great. That's my work. But this could be work and responsibilities that you don't get paid for. For example, if you are a stay-at-home parent or you're a caretaker for maybe elderly parents, you don't get paid, but that is still work. That is the stuff you do with your head and with your hands to build a healthy family and community and society. It could be you are retired and you don't get a paycheck anymore, or you're on disability, you don't get a paycheck anymore, but you're able to do something, take on some responsibilities to better the world around you. You're volunteering, you're not getting paid, but you're doing something wonderful with your head and with your hands, regardless of whether you get a paycheck. The Apostle Paul, who wrote half the New Testament, says this in 1 Corinthians 3:9. He says, we are all co-workers belonging to God. We're all part of building the kingdom of heaven on earth, making the world a better place, making the world a little more like heaven together. In the responsibilities we're paid for and in those we're not. We're co-workers belonging to God, partnering together to build a better world. I'm sure you know this, but maybe we don't think about it too much. Jesus worked. What was his profession? He's a carpenter. He spent 20 years building things, and he spent 3 years preaching. So was that 20 years a waste of time? No, the Bible's very clear. Jesus was a carpenter. He used his head, he used his hands for 20 years, making his community a better place, providing for his family, and then spent his last 3 years preaching. And the last 3 years preaching is more famous than his 20 years working, but I think it's all spiritual. It's all God's calling. It's all a gift from God. It's all work. And then the Apostle Paul writes half the New Testament. And the Apostle Paul was busy. The Apostle Paul was busy. He's planting every non-Jewish church in Asia Minor and in Europe. He's out there traveling for multiple years over many journeys at great risk to his own life and health, that he's being persecuted and beaten and thrown out of the cities. Oh, and by the way, he then gets to work. He's working. Do you know what the Apostle Paul, who wrote half the New Testament, did for a job? He made tents. And so he's preaching and teaching, and then wakes up early in the morning and starts sewing tents and then selling tents, making a little bit of money so he can buy himself some food and maybe food for his team, and go to a Motel 6 and stay overnight so he can preach that next morning and plant a new church. He's working. Jesus worked. The Apostle Paul worked. Work is a gift from God. Work is a gift from God. The religious culture that gets this is the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church nails it. The Catholic Church values work. The Catholic Church understands that we're made for work, to align ourselves with the creative work of God. Here's what they said in the Second Vatican Council. Labor comes immediately from the person. So labor is an expression of who we are, right? The person stamps the things of nature with his seal. So every time we're working, even if it's in what we would consider to be sort of common work or labor, the Catholic Church says you are stamping your seal on the earth. If you're doing landscaping, if you are manufacturing, if you are the CEO, you're stamping the seal of God's image on this earth. Embrace it all and love it all. We are following the example of Christ, who conferred an eminent dignity on labor when at Nazareth he worked with his own hands. He worked with his own hands. So we have our life mission, our life work, and then we have our work. All of it is a gift of God. All of it is spiritual. But I want to just give one nuanced sentence here. Unlike our life's work, our work doesn't define who we are. Our life's work comes from who we are. I want the world around me to know, feel, and experience the unconditional love of God. That's my life's work. That is different from my work. I get to do that at work, but if my identity is wrapped up in my work, what happens when maybe something bad happens at work? What happens if I'm downsized? What happens if the industry falls apart? What happens if I lose my job? Now who am I? So I want to encourage you to consider your identity your life's work and write out that mission statement, but your job is not who you are. Your job is not who you are. And I have some experience in that. I started working kind of hard labor when I was 11. That is old school Rancho, California. Back in the days where this was just tumbleweeds and cows, I was doing hard labor at 11 years old. My mom would drop me off at this old man's house who was incredibly grumpy. He was pretty immobile, so he would sit on his porch, literally with a cane and a rocking chair, every stereotypical thing you imagine, that's him. And I'm 11 years old, and I'm working his yard. And he is barking orders. Do this, do that. You didn't do that right. Redo that. And then he'd give me a little bit of cash at the end of the day, and I'd go home with my mom. 11 years old. When I was 14 years old, I worked at an avocado grove up on the hill, and I could point to it. I could walk outside and point to where I worked at 14 years old. Avocado grove, and when I say on the hill, basically rock cliffs. I mean, I could overblow it, but at the time, it felt like I'm working on the side of cliffs when rocks are just, and I am digging ditches in rocks at 14 years old. I am laying irrigation pipe. I am trimming trees on the side of these cliffs. And I have toxic chemicals in this herbicide sprayer hanging onto the side of the hill, spraying poison on weeds, 14 years old, no mask, no nothing. This is like, I get it. I get what it's like to have a job that doesn't align with your life mission. I get when it's just hard work and you want to get through the end of the day. But all of it is good. All of it builds who we are. All of it is an expression of who God is, creating and working through us. When I was 17 years old, had to work my way through college, got a job at a cabinet shop that's still open across the freeway, and low level, sweeping floors, cleaning the bathroom. Cleaning the bathroom in a construction shop. I just wouldn't want to sign up for that now. But at the time, it was all right. And I thought to myself after about 3 months, this is easy, I could do this. So on The Secret, I got a tape measure. How tall is a cabinet? Oh, it's 34 inches. Write that down. How wide is it? And over the course of the months, I figured out how to make a cabinet. Got $1,000 worth of tools, started my own company, totally illegal, no contractor's license, 17 years old, 5 employees, 6,000 square foot shop, and just started doing it, right? That wasn't my life calling. My life calling, I knew, was heading towards ministry, where my life calling, I hoped and prayed, would be aligned with my work, and I get to enjoy that. But no matter what job we have, we can absolutely implement our life's work in whatever job we have, because it is all noble and it is all good work. A couple of things just to put in your brain. Our work doesn't have to align with our life's work for us to be fulfilled at work. Your life's work is mission-driven. Your work doesn't necessarily have to align with that for us to be fulfilled at work. Also, and this is just a truth bomb, our employer doesn't pay us to fulfill our life's work. They pay us to work. There's a little bit of a softness, I think, about our American culture at times. This is just a 55-year-old man griping. But there is a little softness. I said, oh, my employer, it should exist for my health and well-being. Well, okay, from one point of view, yes. An employer should be humanitarian, love their workers, care for their workers 100%, want them to be fully fulfilled. But the reason why we get a paycheck is to make money for the company. There's no other reason. Now, companies are more successful the more we take care of our employees, but our employer doesn't pay us to fulfill our life's work. They pay us just to work, right? To put it this way, our employer pays us to make more money for the company than we cost. That's true of every organization. It's just the way it is. There's a freedom behind that. Some of you are like nodding, some of you are like, what? But I'm telling you, there's a freedom behind that. Because the more we separate our life's work, fully fulfilling, fully in our control, but our work sometimes doesn't feel great. It sometimes has a transition and it's not who we are. We show up to make money for our company. Hopefully our company values us enough to take care of ourselves. But we are not our work. We are not our work. I want to close with a quote from Fight Club. The movie Fight Club. It's, I removed some naughty words, and then I totally flipped the ending. It was a big thing, right? But I love the message of this quote. It was a big tense part of the movie Fight Club, but I want us to grab this, and I'm gonna go slow here. You are not your job. You are not your job. You might like your job. You might be part of the 50% that loves their job, but you are not your job. Your job could change. Your boss could change. Your boss could be great. Your boss could be a jerk. You may find personal fulfillment and well-being at your work, you may not, and that could change. You are not your job. Your life's work, your mission, emanates from who God uniquely made you, and you could do that anywhere, home, neighborhood, volunteering, and in your workplace, but you are not your job. Your workplace doesn't define you, your paycheck doesn't define you. You are not how much money you have, you are not in your bank, you are not the car you drive. You are not the amount in your wallet. You are not your office khakis. And then I added, you are not your office skirt because it was very sexist. Your work is not who you are. And I'm telling you, for me, I have to really think about this because I've only worked here. I had the ditch digging jobs, and I had the herbiciding, the cliff job, and I had the woodworking job, and those were great. But the only career path I've had has been right here at Rancho Church, Rancho School, and Mission Hope. I don't plan on changing this job, and I certainly hope our board doesn't plan on changing me from this job. I hope to retire here in 2040, if I can last that long. That is my hope, and that is my prayer. So I've got to think, does this job define me? What if I didn't work here anymore? Only career path I've had. Would that shake me to the core? Would I kind of wonder who I am, and would I feel this sense of loss? I don't know who I am anymore because I don't have this job. So I've got to, in my life plan, I've got to walk a journey that says, okay, there's my life mission, which I happen to have the privilege of using fully at my job, but I am not my job. I am not my job. But I can fully embrace my life mission. And here's the last phrase of the Fight Club quote, which I completely turned upside down, for those of you who care. You are the singing and dancing joy of the world. That is not what the quote said. But I think that's what God says. You are not your work, you're not your car, you're not your paycheck. What you are is the singing and dancing joy of the world. That's your life's work. That's your life's mission. That's your life's calling. That's your life's calling. Know that calling. Write that calling down, and then experience the joy of living that out everywhere in your life. Because the only way you can be the singing, dancing joy to the world, the only way you can express that kind of happiness and that kind of fulfillment, making the world a little bit of a better place, the only way you can do that is by knowing why you do what you do. Your life's calling, your life's mission, your life's work. Let's pray. God, I thank you for this series and thank you for the biblical principles that guide us in our life journey towards that vision of where we want to be in our elderly years, enjoying being surrounded by family, enjoying love in our lives, looking back, we pray, with few regrets, and contributing to this world becoming a better place by our work. The things that we do with our head and the things that we do with our hands, but more than that, and higher than that, and deeper than that, our life's work, our mission, our calling. So I pray that for everyone in here that doesn't yet know what that life's work is, that they would write some things down, pray through it, seek guidance from you and your spirit and your word, and guidance from others, friends and family, so that we can know why we do what we do. Not the stuff we get paid to do, but what we were born to do. And once we know that, to live our life as the singing and dancing joy of the world around us. God, would you guide and direct each one toward that aim? In Jesus' name we pray, amen.